I'm waiting. Nah, they won't go for that one. I need to be a little tougher. I'm waiting. That was a little better. I'm waiting. No. Sit down or you're out of here. That was a good one. That was a good one. You can do this. You want to have your cell phone out, do you? Out. Anyone else? Sit down or I am calling your parents. Do you hear me? One of the most Googled terms in education is, what is classroom management and how do I create a classroom management plan? Well, that's a great question because here's what I know. Kids are absolutely nuts. They're just nutso. And I don't think they're ever gonna stop being nuts. It would be nice if we could just come in and teach our math or science or social studies or whatever. Or maybe you're a principal and you just sit at your desk all the time, all day, processing referrals. Okay, so classroom management is what we need to work on. So that's what we're going to talk about today. Classroom management plans, classroom management philosophy, and more. My name's Jeff Becker, and this is Beyond Academics. Okay, here's a definition of what classroom management is. Classroom management is all of the processes and procedures that help you to keep control of the students in your classroom. And it helps you to minimize any kind of disruptions or disruptive behavior so you can deliver the content you want to deliver. Does that make sense? So that's what classroom management is. It's all of the different structures and processes and procedures. So if you're kind of a fly by the seat of your pants person, I'd have to guess that's probably not working out very well for you. So let's talk about some basic rules of thumb as it pertains to classroom management. This is just some like real high level stuff. Maybe you're a career changer and you just got into education, or this is your first or second year, or maybe this is like your fifth year and these kids are still driving you nuts and it feels like the behaviors are all over the place. Maybe you've heard this or maybe you haven't, but I love this and it helps me to approach my classroom management in a way that has really worked for me in my career. So here's a basic line chart, and on the x-axis, if you like that, math teachers, is age. So on the left side, that's lower age, so that's like your, preschools, which freak me out, I know nothing about them, all the way up to high school or even college age students. And then on the y-axis is the amount of structure you have in your classroom. So one thing that really helped me, I don't remember if I even read it or maybe a mentor teacher taught this to me, but the younger the students, the more structure you want. And when we're talking about structure, we're talking about having a highly organized and having lots of procedures around everything that you do in your classroom. Everything from communicating expectations about how students come into the classroom, how they act during direct instruction, what their volume is supposed to be, what your expectations are during independent study time, what your expectations are as the bell is approaching. We know that students kind of just start to gravitate towards the door and they're packing their stuff up. So it's having all of the processes and procedures not only clear to your students, but clear in your mind as well, and communicating those in a really clear and consistent way. So when we're talking about age, you want high structure with younger kids. The same thing with the difference between 6th graders and 8th graders. 6th graders need a whole lot more structure. They need very clear expectations. They need those expectations communicated all of the time to help them remember, because God knows that their brains are all over the place. But if you are a high school teacher or even a post-secondary teacher, you know that your older students need a little bit less structure because they're a little bit more self-disciplined. So now let's take a look at another approach to classroom management. On the y-axis, we're still going to have structure, but on the x-axis, it's going to be where you are chronologically in the school year. At the very beginning of the school year, it is so important to be highly structured. You want to communicate your expectations like every 30 seconds, and it is going to be obnoxious, but I'm telling you, it's going to pay dividends. And a bonus tip, this is something that I learned my first year of teaching, and I hope this helps somebody out there, is that whatever behaviors you allow at the beginning of the year, be fully prepared to deal with them for the rest of the year. It's much easier to be really tight on expectations at the beginning of the year and to kind of ease off as you go and as you see fit, rather than have everything wide open, loosey-goosey, laissez-faire at the beginning of the year. You are never going to be able to herd those cats back in. And so before we round this out, I just want to kind of share some anecdotal advice with you, is that I remember my first year of teaching is that I was so hyper-focused on my success. I was so worried about things going sideways. I was so worried about not being able to teach or to teach well. I was so worried about me, and I was so hyper-focused on myself that I think the students could pick up on that. And it wasn't until I showed that I cared about them that they started repaying me in their behavior. So there was a saying when I delivered a keynote, and it went something like this. I said, the amount of care that you show your students will be repaid in grace that they have for you. As teachers, we're gonna make mistakes and we're gonna make missteps when it comes to classroom management. But the more that you show that you care more about your students, the more they're gonna show you grace on the back end. So I hope that helps. There's a ton of resources online. I'll make sure I link some below. If you thought that this video was helpful, please subscribe, share, and below, if you're a veteran teacher and you pride yourself in classroom management tips, tricks, and strategies, go ahead and drop them in the comments below. This isn't a place where I claim to know everything. This is a community. I want to hear below what are some of your best tips, tricks, and advice as it pertains to classroom management. All right, well, that's all we got here. What we know is that when our classroom management gets better, our kids get better. My name's Jeff Becker, and this is Beyond Academics.